Hello, I'm Daniel, and I want to talk to you today about the COVID leave in the American Rescue Plan. And maybe you've heard of it, and maybe you haven't. Uh, my discussions with people lead me to believe that many managers seem to not have heard of it, which is troubling on its own. But this is the situation. In the American Rescue Plan, which was passed now I'm just going to say over 30 days ago. Over a month ago, it was passed. It was passed March 11th. And it is the same bill that caused people to get stimulus checks. So even if you don't follow the news at all, you probably know around when that was, right? And included in that bill was a special fund for leave for federal employees as a result of COVID-19. Leave for federal employees. I've seen some articles where it's called emergency leave, and that makes me think, well, they're not treating it like it's an emergency. So, this is a special leave category that includes various things, and the fact of the matter is many of our members and non-members, many of our employees are being harmed by this strange delay. What delay am I talking about? Well, it's been over a month, and people are not being allowed to participate in this leave. And the answers we're getting are there's no guidance yet. There's no guidance yet from, this is bigger than the IRS, from either HCO or OMB, somebody. We're passing it to somebody and saying it's because they're not giving us the guidance we need. And, in the first week, okay, I understand that. It's been over a month now. So we are all wondering what is going on. There are some people in some tough situations that would really like to know about this leave. And I'm going to describe what's in the bill now, and I will talk a little bit about problems I foresee potentially happening. But the biggest problem right now is there's no guidance. IRS managers, government managers at all levels are not being told what to do to process this leave. I know of another government agency that is in the same situation as us and is not letting people take the leave. I've heard of a third government agency that has put out guidance but is still not letting people take the leave. I can only speak to what's happening at the IRS, which is no one at the IRS is being allowed to take this leave, and everyone seems to be getting the answer either there's no guidance yet, you can't take the leave, or what leave are you talking about? I don't know about any COVID leave. So, which I don't know. I don't know if I don't want to speculate on if managers are being honest when they say I don't know what you're talking about, but I've heard people have gotten these answers. So we're going to talk about what the COVID leave is now. And specifically what's in the American Rescue Plan. I got it. I pulled it up here so I could just, in black and white, say what it says. So this says that it specifically, the bill sets aside this amount of money is provided to federal agencies so they can provide specifically this leave to their employees, okay? And there are several different reasons why one would potentially be able to take this leave. And there are a lot of people in these situations, I think. So, number one, a person who is subject to a federal, state, or local quarantine or isolation order related to COVID-19. So, someone who has a note from their doctor that says, hey, you need to quarantine. You've been exposed. You need to quarantine for 2 weeks or whatever. It seems to say they should get admin time, right? And then number two, if they've been advised by a healthcare provider to self-quarantine due to concerns related to COVID-19. So number one was if the state says you have to quarantine. Number 2 is if your doctor says you have to quarantine. Number 3 is caring for an individual who is subject to such an order or has been so advised. So if your child is told they have to quarantine because they've been exposed in either of those situations, admin time. And I assume for all of those that a doctor's note would be required. I assume so. It would surprise me if you could just self-certify for that. So be prepared to turn in a quarantine note. The number 4 is experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and seeking a medical diagnosis. We asked for this whole year. We have been hoping and asking for something like that. Something like, hey, I am sick. I don't want to use my sick leave, Because, there could be someone that thinks, oh, it's allergies, right? I'm not really sick. And they could bring that to work, and we don't want that. So, number 4 is experiencing symptoms of COVID-19 and seeking a medical diagnosis. My sense is if they asked for proof of that, there'd be ways to prove that. When you sign up for a test, there's a paper trail. But, so it could happen that when the guidelines come out, it's sort of strict and you have to prove it, but it should be completely possible, right? We wish it wasn't strict, but it should be completely possible anyway. Number 5, this is a big one to me. In my opinion, this is a big one. It is caring for a son or daughter if the school or place of care of the son or daughter has been closed. If the school of such son or daughter requires or makes optional a virtual learning instruction model, or requires or makes a hybrid of in-person and virtual learning instruction models, or the child care provider of such son or daughter is unavailable due to COVID-19 precautions. So what does that mean? If your daycare or school shuts down for a day for COVID-19, you could apply for admin time. 2, if your child is either halfway virtual or all the way virtual, you could apply for admin time. And the reason, and I see it says requires or makes optional, I think they would have said just requires, except that I know for my kids' school, we had to make that decision. It seems like it was a really long time ago. We had to make that decision. Are we doing virtual for the whole year? So a lot of schools are not letting people change their minds and are saying, okay, well, you agreed to all virtual in January, so you're all virtual until the summer gets here, right? And it's tough if you got multiple kids at home doing a virtual school. What do you do? I don't know. So that to me, that number 5, that to me has a great potential to help a lot of people, because we're in a situation where a whole lot of people have, we've seen every few weeks, it seems like another department is told, hey, you have to report to the building now, that has been fortunate enough to be teleworking, because some areas have been so unfortunate they haven't teleworked at all, right? But yeah, it seems like every few weeks somebody gets that call, hey, it's time for your department to come back, and then people that are parents are like, oh, what am I going to do, right? So that, I think there's a lot of potential in that one. Number 6 is experiencing any other substantially similar condition. That could mean anything, right? So I don't know. Number 7, and this could help a lot of people too, actually, is caring for a family member with a mental or physical disability or who is 55 years of age or older and incapable of self-care, without regard to whether another individual other than the employee is available to care for such a family member. If the place of care for such family member is closed or the direct care provider is unavailable due to COVID-19. So, if you are taking care of a disabled person or an elderly person because maybe the person that normally takes care of them isn't available because of COVID-19, well, you may be eligible for this admin time. And then number 8, and this is a big one too, is obtaining immunization related to COVID-19 or is recovering from any injury, disability, illness, or condition related to such immunization. So that first part, they are doing. They are letting people take admin time for COVID-19. They're not letting people take admin time who have a bad reaction and get sick. If you have a bad reaction and get sick and you're sick for a couple days, well, you're using your sick leave, right? And I feel like we know that now. I had a lot of questions about that for a while. But I feel like it's known now. They're not doing anything for you. So, this has been long. I should have said what we're doing before I read those things. But those are the things. So, like, to me, the biggest ones are people with kids at home and no other options, and people who get sick from the vaccine. To me, those are the biggest ones. At least those are the ones I hear the most about. But that caring for a disabled or elderly person, like that's serious as well. And I've heard of that one time. I've heard of people struggling with the virtual school a lot, and I've heard of people having bad reactions a lot. I have a little bit of a concern that the guidance is going to come out and it's going to say you need doctor's notes for everything, and then like, who gets a doctor's note when they have a bad reaction to the vaccine? Well, too bad. You need to get one. That is my one worry about that one. But so, because I think that's crazy, and I honestly trust our employees to not lie and say they're having a reaction to get some days off. I trust our employees to not do that. We're all adults. So, I know some people don't feel that way, but I think we should trust our employees to do that. So, where are we at now, right? It is over 30 days, again, over a month. I've been doing a little countdown thing on the Facebook page, and I know some people see that and they think, well, this is useless. Why isn't the union doing more? And I have to tell you that that's my idea. I'm doing that. I take responsibility for it. I have been putting that out there every month because the media follows my page. And I suspect my page. I'm sorry for saying my page. The media follows our page, and I suspect some very high-ranking IRS people do too. And I want them to know that we're watching, that this is not something that they can just do and we're just going to let it go. And I want them to know that we're counting and we see how ridiculous this is, because it is ridiculous. If we're going to call it emergency leave, and if they're going to say that it's important that we be at work, and they're going to be shutting down so much telework, much of it's for reasons we don't really understand. Some of it for reasons we understand a little better, but a lot of it for reasons we don't really understand. Then they need to take care of people. They need to take care of people. And it almost makes it worse for them to put this out there and to say, look, we're taking care of our federal employees, and then not do it. And then not do it for a month. And it really bothered me last week because a week ago, I don't know the day, early in the week last week, it was either Monday or Tuesday, the IRS put out a thing that said, guidance is going to come soon. It will be here probably by the end of the week. They did say that. I think they did qualify it with probably. But people have been waiting a long time for this. People have been waiting a long time for this. And we can sit and think, well, whose fault this is? Who do we blame? But I don't know that helps. I know my sense is the IRS in Kansas City is not responsible. There's a lot of things that we have throughout this whole COVID process we have blamed them for, but my sense is that this is higher than them, just because, again, I know people, not only is every IRS building suffering this exact same thing, but I know people in other agencies too. And I need to reach out to them further because there is one agency that I think might be handling this right. And I need to see if I can reach out to them and get some information. But that being said, I hope a lot of you are still with me at this point, because I'm going to say I have told you what the rules in the bill are for this leave, and we'll see. The guidance may make it. We will see what the guidance states. One thing that's not there is leave for people that have COVID-19, which is surprising to me, but all these other things, I know some of you really need help. I know there are people right now who are blowing through their leave because their kids are in virtual school, or their kids, if their kids are before school age, the kids are at home because the daycare shut down or whatever. All these things are happening. And I know there are people who go get their COVID vaccine and then they feel like hell for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 days, and they're in that position where they're having to blow through their leave even though they've been told this will be taken care of. They're in that position where they're having to blow through their leave, or they have no leave and they have to take leave without pay. And because we are underpaid, taking leave without pay is a tough thing, right? So I hear you. We are listening and we do care. And this is what I want at this point. This is what we are asking. If you are being harmed by the slow rollout of this guidance, I want you to tell us. I want you to send an email to nteu.chapter.66@irs.gov, and I will put that down in the comments so that you don't have to rewind and hear that again. But I want you to send an email to that with the subject line COVID leave and describe the situation. So just describe, hey, this is my situation. And this is important. I have asked my manager for this leave on this day, and they told me whatever they told me. So if you haven't asked your manager, so if you have, say, for example, the kids at home virtual learning situation, you haven't asked your manager, hey, can I have the new COVID leave? Do that. Send an email to them, get their answer in writing, and then following that, well, you can do it at the same time, but send us that email that says, hey, this is my situation. This is what my manager said. This is my situation. This is what my manager said. And we're going to try to move on these cases. We're going to see what we can do. But it's important that we learn how many IRS employees in Kansas City are being harmed by this situation, because it's true. This situation is ridiculous. It is beyond absurd. The fact of the matter is, people knew something like this was going to be in the bill. So it's really not okay. It's really not okay for us to be in this position where we know this is an option, and I think people are going to quit while they're waiting around for this, and the IRS is going to lose some good people, honestly. And of course, many more people will just not be able to pay their bills and just be struggling for a long time for things outside of their control. And the fact of the matter is, the job can take care of us. The job said they're going to take care of us. So we need it, and we need it yesterday. We need it 3 weeks ago, right? So I need that information from you. If you are being harmed by this, send an email to that email address. And we can look that up, but it's helpful if you include your manager's name, your job title, your department, all that stuff. It's helpful if you include it, but we can also find that. So send an email, and I'll say it again, nteu.chapter.66@irs.gov. Those dots are important. People mess them up sometimes. Subject line, COVID leave. And then give us your name, your department, your manager, when you talk to them and ask for this leave, what they said. And we will follow up with everyone. And it's all very upsetting, and I know you're upset, and I'm upset, because this is too long. And I cannot believe that I've read an article where it's called emergency leave, because it's not being treated like an emergency. And people need help. And it's tempting to try to figure out exactly where the holdup is and try to blame a person or blame a group or whatever. I just want to solve it, though. I want to solve it. So we are going to do everything we can, but we need all the information. So if you feel you're being harmed by this absurd delay, please send that email so we can start working for you on it, because we need to work together on this. It's gone too long. Truthfully, it has gone too long for weeks now, and we don't know when the guidance will come out, and I'm losing all my optimism about it, right? So let's see what we can do together, all right? Thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and please, if you think you're being harmed, send us that information. And if it's not you, but it's a friend of yours, tell them to send us the information, okay? Okay, good luck, and have a good day.